Yo, so many pairs of hands in the air look like we holding up the sky. Yo, as if the sky's falling. But no, it's not the sky's falling. We as a culture is falling, dropping like flies, no metaphor intended. Police in the streets shooting down intentionally, no mystery. Because you see the light in your skin, I mean the darker your skin, the more likely you too can become a target. It's that simple. Because you see the system got to eat and they starve. They starve before our melanin, just like a simple bottle of water for those in Flint, Michigan, now Mississippi, my prayers go out to them. You see the black man, original man, founders of civilization, we create the power in every nation. So when they kill us, it creates dehydration and documentation amongst the next generation. Come on now. Energy, 11 elements seduced from the earth is a lecture the way they crucify us through our own music. But you see, we the ones that let them do it. I'm looking around like, man, where they do that at? Where they do that at? Only in America. Only in America, my Don King voice. It's crazy how we went from representing royalty to jealousy for one another. But
the world has a weapon, a gun, a bomb, some type of weapon of mass destruction. Well, we have a sword, which is the word of God, which is more powerful than any weapon of mass destruction. So that's what War Cry is all about. It tells you who we are and whose we are.
I love it.
Yeah.
Man, you better support Tony. You know why? Because I said it. The Chicago Bridge Magazine. Because he said it. Because he said it. So what was that experience like, man, when you got out, you know what I mean? You put the book together, you know what I'm talking about, this book right here. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
You know, this is the one you signed for me, man, you know what I mean? So I sure
what did I sign at? 10, 12, 15? Woo, that's a long time ago. That book is a classic.
Yeah.
You might have had one of the original books.
Peace and blessings. Hey, I definitely want to welcome you all back for another great celebrity interview. You know my name, Dr. ISAIDIT, and I'm the founder of ISAIDIT Management. And here today, I have an extraordinary, beautiful young lady who I recently met as of last year, just networking with my dear friend, Queen Dr. Dominique D. Peterson, Glow Up Magazine founder, etc. She's very needed in the community. And this woman right here is a good friend of hers. And because of her, I've made this connection. So with that being said, I'd like to reintroduce 30-time award-winning brand and founder holistic healing source for marginalized society, the famous, the one, the only, Calynn M. Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence. Welcome to my show, Queen.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm grateful to have you. Thank you for your time this Sunday. I know you're a very busy woman. You always working. You're a hard person to catch up with, and so I'm very grateful to have your time today to talk about some current topics, trending topics, along with your life, your journey, and how people sometimes they view us and it looks easy peasy. It looks like wow, like they so blessed, they so lucky. But they don't know the grind. They don't know the blood, the sweat, the tears, the climb of that staircase, the hard work, the endless sleepless nights. You know what I mean? The depression that comes with, the anxiety that comes with just life of being someone and striving to be great. You know what I'm talking about? Because everybody that strives to be great, this is similar things that we all go through. You know what I mean? This is how I feel from the people that I speak with. So I want to know a little bit more about you. So if I like to start, I like to always ask, how's your day, Queen? How's your day so far? You look beautiful.
Thank you so much. I am doing okay for a Sunday. I got some work done earlier today. I'm excited to be on the podcast. It's a little bit of a chill day for me, so I came on pretty casual, but I'm in a good mood. How are you?
I'm great. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I expect a miracle. Thank you for the extraordinary miracles, and that's how I start my day, and that's the energy.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
I want to dive right into it. For those that don't know you, I like to always ask my guests, where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from the city, Chicago, South Side,
Okay.
Marquette Park, born and raised from birth until age 20. Then at 20, I moved to the suburbs and I've been living at my place in Crestwood for the last 5 years.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I love that. So, did you grow up like instrumental? Were you like in the key club in high school? Was you an athlete? You know what I'm saying? Was you in the music band, anything like that? Like, what's some of your background for those that don't know a little bit about Miss Calynn before she became Dr. Calynn?
Well, when I was a kid, I was very, very similar to now, very like busy, loved the spotlight, all of that. So I did a lot of performing, a lot of singing and songwriting, a lot of arts like painting and drawing and taking a lot of those classes, being in art club, things like that. I did a lot of volunteering, so not too different than now, but I did most of my volunteering in the in the school. So like mentoring, youth leadering, supporting report card pickups, open houses, summer school, all of that kind of stuff. So I was very involved there. And then like ministry related volunteering, I would do a lot of that too. So I was very busy as a kid. And I guess looking at where I am as an adult, it tracks because it set me up for balancing a busy schedule now.
Okay, I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
trying
you.
to. I'm trying to. Yeah. So, with that being said, do you have any siblings?
I do. So I have two sisters. So I have an older sister who's 6 years older. Her name is Candace, and a younger one who's 6 years younger named Cameron. And we all, went into like a little bit different of career paths with maybe a little bit of crossover here and there. But all of us went to selective enrollment high schools. All of us graduated college. All of us, coming out the South Side as Black women from a low income background. I would like to say for the most part, we made our parents proud.
I love that. I love that. I love how they kept the C energy with the Caitlin, the Candace, the Frederick. That's nice. Are both your parents' names start with a C too?
Neither one of their names start with a C, which is crazy.
Wow.
My dad's name is Tori and my mom's name is Don.
Oh wow. My sister name is Don. I have a sister named Don. Dawn. Don.
Yes, it's a small world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. So, what got you down the path of, once you were like in high school? Did you always know what you wanted to be? Because I always say, like, I think that we're the same people that we are when we were 5 years old. I don't know why five, but to me, in my mind, let me tell it, 5 years old is when you kind of like the becoming of like who your character is gonna be, and then we just get older.
I would definitely agree that a lot of the traits I had even when I was little. They just developed and matured in a certain way. But
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't know like exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I was very fascinated with like media and like public affairs and being out in the community, talking to people, events, that kind of stuff. So I knew I wanted to do something like that, but I wasn't exactly sure. So me going into media and marketing, that was a good segue into me realizing like, hey, okay, yeah. So like the communications world is where I will thrive. It's not the same way of performing as like when I was singing, or it's not the same way of artistic expression as when I would draw and paint, but like I still get to have those elements, and I get to earn a decent living doing it. So I'm happy that even though I wasn't exactly sure what that path would look like, I utilized the talents and the interests I had to find a good job. Or,
Okay, I love that. I love that. I'm just so proud of you. You know what I mean? As I continue to read more about you, learn more about you. Recently, from the first time that we met, what I mean? Obviously Dominique, Dr. Dominique had already spoke very highly of you, and so I was excited to meet you. But she was saying that you were gonna be the red carpet host. So this is actually Dr. Chachang J. Chachang Gay. event to where I had a chance to meet you on the red carpet, Dr. Crystal. And she's not actually pictured, but I'm here pictured beside you, Queen Dominique, Queen Marion Morris, and Queen Shantae, who's a famous celebrity makeup artist.
Yes, that was such a good event.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You did such a great job with the interview, and I appreciate other people that does interviews the way that they do them. I kind of like um my interview system is where I just have a natural conversation. I do my research, learn more about the person, and I just kind of go from there. But in the beginning, I did do the question thing, write out questions. But then, what I felt like is that it's not organic, because then people can plan what they want to say. But when you ask somebody what they feel about something on the fly, it's more organic and it's natural and it's real. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like to do it this way, respectfully.
Yeah, no, I think that authenticity is a great layer for interview content, and I am 100% in support of that. And at the Kids Multicultural World Fashion Show, that was, like I say, a great event, and it was, to my knowledge, the first time where we met. And even when I met you on the red carpet with Dr. Dominique and the rest of the people who were in y'all group, like even then I knew it was just something like about you that was like very like you had some kind of aura about you. I was like, seems like him and I might have some kind of crossover here. And then come to find out, the crossover was that you also do media and do interviews. So that's so funny.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I appreciate you so much. When it comes to holistic, is many avenues, paths you can go down when it comes to holistic. But, in your particular field and expertise, what do you master in when it comes to being holistic health and wellness?
So for me, it's going to be the area of holistic mental health and what I like to call whole person recovery. So my background is I used to be a pediatric behavioral therapist during COVID, then transitioned to pastoral counseling, interfaith pastoral counseling, where I leaned more so into like the spiritual mind, body, spirit type of or mind, body, soul type of counseling, and became a board certified trauma specialist and got a lot of designations within the trauma field in several degrees. So for me, when it comes to that holistic mental health and whole person recovery piece, it's not even just like a passion of mine. It's real life for me because I suffer from major depressive disorder. I've had multiple battled alcoholism and all types of other traumatic experiences. So for me, that mental health piece is vital.
No, absolutely. I apologize. It was a super jet, Top Gun jet that just went past. I didn't even catch the muting in time. I apologize for that, interrupting you. But no, highly respected in everything that you do, because it's so needed. And more people, not everybody is comfortable speaking up about their trauma and things that they're going through to where they would need your service, you know what I mean? But when they hear you speak, I'm sure there's a lot of people that, you help to feel comfortable to like, hey, this is someone that I could talk to, because it's just like a therapist, you know what I mean? And is that related to therapy, or as a therapist, what you do?
Yes. So I no longer do a lot of direct practice where like I'm like meeting with clients one-on-one outside of the work I do with incarcerated women, but I do that entirely as a form of ministry and on a volunteer basis, because I realized that doing counseling for pay was not that's not a good fit for my goals and personality type, because my personality type, I'm very much like a big talker. I love like things moving in a way that might be a little bit too fast paced if you're working with a client one-on-one, especially if they're, new to therapy and things like that. And I like being able to have a lot of creative freedom. So for me, outside of, like I say, the work I do with incarcerated women on a volunteer basis, I no longer practice one-to-one doing any kind of therapy, but I do utilize those skills to do a lot of community education, advocacy, research, which is what the Holistic Healing Source predominantly offers. We have our free online library of self-help, trauma-informed, spirit-led ebooks that got hundreds of thousands of visitors and won multiple national and international awards. We have our content that people can, use in their presentations if they want. They can copy, paste it, do whatever. We have articles that people can read. We have professional trainings that people can take. So we offer a lot of different, educational content for people of all backgrounds. Oh, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Are you getting an echo?
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Yeah. So with that, thank you for. One second.
No problem.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Had a little device malfunction. My other device cut off at the time. But yes, that's I love everything that you do again. And I heard like you say you don't do the direct, but is that something you think you'll get back into doing one-on-ones?
I think that I have found that doing it just on a volunteer basis as a form of ministry with the incarcerated women, that is probably my preference, because when you're doing it in a volunteer ministerial capacity, it's already that understanding of, openness and flexibility. It doesn't come with the same type of like rigidity of if I were to do like one-on-one sessions that people like paid for, especially because as an interfaith pastoral counselor, like you can't bill insurance. So that has to be paid out of pocket. So I think for me, like, having that be something I just do like on the side in my free time, I think I prefer that more, because when I was working one-to-one full time doing direct sessions, like it came with a lot of red tape that I just didn't necessarily love. So for me, leaning into that public speaking, community education, advocacy, I think that's where my heart is.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to commend you for, going into the prison system and working with female prisoners, because that's so needed, because everyone needs a voice, and they're not in a position to be able to properly express themselves, what I mean? And sometimes in our society and community, we get caught up in what people did, the mistakes that they have made, but ain't nobody perfect, right? So everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes some people don't get second chances. What I mean? Sometimes that second chance, I'm not going to say we don't get second chances. It's a gap between that second chance and maybe that third chance. What I mean? And that depends on, what God has for you and, whatever your destiny is. But with that being said, someone that's a prisoner, is needed for people like yourself, and commend you and congratulations, salute to you for, working with these women, because you're helping them to create a new path for themselves. So and they may not never had someone in their life to tell them that I believe in you, or you're this, or you can become that. And that's so important in life, to have these type of this information, to be instilled in you, whether it come from a guardian, a parent, a friend, a therapist, anyone.
Thank you. I'm glad you recognize that, because as a newly, like literally like a week or so ago, a newly board certified forensic traumatologist, I understand to a very deep degree, like you say, the fact that so many people caught up in the criminal justice system didn't even get a first chance fairly, let alone a second or third. That Black and brown school to prison pipeline, especially if we're talking about males within our communities, and especially low income males within our community, starting at the preschool age, they are systemically funneled into the criminal justice system. It is just quite horrific when you really dive into the specifics. And I think that, my passion for the incarcerated community comes from me knowing so many personally, like in my family, outside of my family, coworkers, friends, people I've dated, classmates, so many people who got caught up in that criminal justice system over like things that were just like ridiculous, like that you would think, wow, I can't believe that they didn't have any mercy on them or extend them any type of help. They just threw them in jail. But it happens all the time for us. So for me, like I think that population just needs a lot of support that they just don't get.
Yes, and for you being so youthful, and that's not an insult. Like I always say, like sometimes when you call someone young or youthful, you're like, I'm not that young, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? You at an age to where you highly mature, like has an old soul, and just have such a big heart for people and the community, and to be youthful and to have that trait, you know what I mean? That's makes you one of one for real, because that's something that is becoming more rare. People are so cold hearted, and so, don't do things unless it benefits them type of energy. And I'll be so fed up and over that, with certain people. Like I do things when things is needed, and I do things, of course, that do benefit me, of course, because that's human beings. I'm in the networking business, you know what I mean? So if it doesn't benefit me, some things, yeah, I may say yes or no to, but if I see something that's needed, as an example, I just recently helped a friend out, and we walked into a kitchen that an elderly person who's a relative of theirs, the kitchen was molded. It was flies everywhere. The dishes had not been done in like a month, sitting in water,
Oh, wow.
festering, and it was such an overwhelming, task to be able to clean up. But instead of allowing them to do it because that's their relative and it's going to be emotion behind it, I was like, don't worry about it. I got it. You know what I'm saying? I went on and took care of it because, and just an example, like, this is something I know that you would do, you know what I mean? Just having your type of heart is because it's about just doing things when needed instead of looking like, okay, am I getting paid for this? What's the benefit to me? We just need to be more moving like Miss Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence, to where we just do things off the strength, off GP. We need to go back to the general purpose, you know what I mean, of things.
And
And
you
that's
know
my
what?
word.
That is such a great example you just gave. Like it is so many people that look at everything as transactional. Everything gotta be a plus minus dollar signs. Like it in life just doesn't work like that, and to your point, a lot of people like you or I, who have, good hearts and who genuinely just care about people, for us, we look at things more holistically, like, what goes around comes around. You do good to others, the universe will bring good back on you. Like that's just the circle of life. But a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people are very transactional and they're set in, if I don't see a direct benefit immediately, I'm not interested.
Mm. And that way, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want to jump in and switch lanes for a second, if you don't mind, you know what I mean? But before I fully switch lanes and talk about some trending topics that's going on here in Chicago, um, I know you've been to over 80 media outlets, you know what I mean? And that's just like incredible. That's a lot, you know what I'm saying? I've been in media for 25 plus years now, and I can't say I've been on no 80 media outlets. With the help of you recently, I appreciate you. I just was added 3 more to my list of my resume, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for you. But I want to highlight you on this magazine and speak a little bit about how this came about, if you don't mind. And
Thank
congratulations,
you.
such a beautiful
Thank you.
cover.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you like doing your research and everything. And it also was a pleasure to publish your story, of course, to some of our publications. And this magazine cover is the one that I did earlier this year for London Magazine, and it commemorated me winning the Person of the Year award and being the youngest ever be named the Person of the Year through the personoftheyear.com awards. And also the first ever to hold 5 of them, because I had 4 category wins and then I won the overall title this year from previous years. And it was essentially mostly rooted in my work with the holistic healing source for marginalized society, but also through like the philanthropy I do through the Fresh Faces Project, a lot of pro bono marketing and media work I do through that. And then also just, some of what I do in my day to day. And they wanted to recognize the unique intersection of fields that I happen to bring, because I started in fashion and entertainment, then branched into nonprofit, and then branched into education and healthcare, and somehow all of those things kind of merged together to have this conglomerate, which is the Calynn Communications and Creative Corporation, which is my overarching LLC over all of those individual endeavors. So that's how that came to be.
Wow. First, congratulations. Congratulations. You know what I mean? That's just incredible. To be the first of anything is totally respected. You know what I mean? And just a young Black woman just continuing to win. I love it. You know what I mean? I support, Black women. That's my thing, because I was raised by women in the community, foremost in my household, being my beautiful mom. I have two older sisters. I'm the last and only son. So I'm very fond of Black women. You know what I mean? I have a lot of aunties. And just when I had a chance to meet you and just continue to do some research and learn more about you, I'm just totally amazed by, your accomplishments, your achievements, and just, you know what I mean, foremost your heart, you know what I'm saying, foremost your mind, you know what I mean, just, your process. I love the process. I love your process. So just keep up the great work. Congratulations on Woman of the Year and all of that. And that's such a beautiful cover that is. I love the picture that was chosen.
Thank you so much. I've got to shout out my mom for that one. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm sure you understand being in media. A lot of the photos that I use for my press and my marketing, my family and friends will take those photos and I'll just retouch them before I send them to whoever the media outlet is. And then they'll usually further edit them. But it really don't even be taking a whole lot of, it don't take a whole lot of money to get good photos nowadays.
Yeah, really though. I truly agree with that. So my first topic that I want to talk about is these tornadoes. Never have we experienced so many tornadoes in the Chicagoland area. Like, it's incredible. Like, across the country, it's over 500 tornadoes that has hit in Chicago. To be exact, the number is 534 tornadoes in this year in just Illinois. And that has never been that. And across the country is at 1,000, over 1,000. And so that we're making up almost over half of all the tornadoes in the entire country, and we're the new tornado alley. What do you think about that, and how has it affected your life or some of your family members? Have anybody that been caught up in these tornadoes? Have they lost power? Have they lost their home? Or have their homes been damaged due to these trees being uprooted? How has it affected you and your circle?
Well, I actually know numerous people whose homes got damaged, power was out, food got spoiled, all type of stuff, had to locate temporarily. Since I live in the south suburbs, it really was bad out this way. But thankfully, thank God in the universe, me living in Crestwood, like while my power went out, like briefly a couple of times, like it was never anything substantial, thank goodness. But a lot of people I know, they could not say the same. They had much worse circumstances. So I hate that this is happening. And, not to be quote unquote, I don't think it's controversial, but a lot of people do think this is controversial. I think this is very indicative of global warming and climate change, and how like we are out here just destroying the planet by overly using like technology, overly relying on like cars and flights, especially like a lot of these celebrities with their private jets and all of that stuff, fast like retail and e-commerce, like mass producing so many things, like in the factory, like it's just so much that's ruining our planet. And I think that's what's causing this.
Absolutely. Well said. That's why I'm asking you, a professional in your field, and just, you have such a powerful mind. So I wanted to ask you about some of these topics. Do you like sports?
I am a live entertainment addict. So I will go to any live entertainment event, especially if it's free. So I've been to sports games and stuff like that before, competitions, but I don't regularly watch a lot of sports. But like in terms of like going to an event, like I went to the NASCAR Cup. Took my dad for Father's Day this summer. That was amazing. I've been to like Chicago Bulls games and stuff like that. So I'll go.
Right. No. So, what do you think about the new salary cap with the WNBA that now, after all of these years, they've been in, around for over 20 years, and now finally the women, and I've actually been an advocate for this, believe it or not, it's proof to what I say. You know what I'm saying? I was one of those social media advocates, like, hey, pay these women. You know what I'm saying? They get on the court, they sweat, they practice, they just as good as a lot of the men, you know what I mean? And as NBA players, they deserve to get paid. Now, granted, they don't play as many games. You know what I'm saying? The league is smaller. They don't have as many competitional competitors to go with because of the lack of teams in different cities. But they deserve to make big money too. And you know what I mean? And by being a target, I also say this, by being subject of being in the spotlight, you become a target. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
they deserve to have to be able to, if they wanted security, at the money that they was making before, they was making like, up to maybe like $100,000. They can't afford no security, you know what I'm saying, at hand to protect them. So now they reached the millions to where the new salary cap is a minimum $1.5 million. And that's just, that's awesome. And I'm happy for these women. What do you think about that with them, finally being able to bring home, a substantial amount of money, being the spotlight of, entertainment?
I am so happy about that. I actually had the pleasure of going to a WNBA game and seeing Angel Reese play live, which was
Yeah.
amazing. So I personally think that is incredible. And like I hear you with the whole like the pay disparity just not making any sense. And people had every excuse in the world about why it was capped at 100K or six figures when you could work a regular job and make six figures, which is just crazy to
Right.
me. So I'm very happy that they are now going to have the ability to at least be paid, $1 million. Like I feel like that should even be like the minimum for that level of celebrity and that level of like training and responsibility that you gotta, have on your roster, I guess. So I think that that's really good. And I think that people paying attention to it was largely also because of people like you who were on social media who were like constantly talking about it, because if stuff don't get talked about, it don't get addressed. So I think that that's really good.
No, thank you. I feel like, right, like you say, like it circulates, what I mean, information. Because everything's so a revolving door on social media. Like, you go to one page on one source, this is what they talking about. Everybody's talking about the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's good to, at least if we're gonna talk about the same thing, let's have it, something that's worth talking about, something that's gonna help make a change in our community and people's lives, and especially people that may be, 6 degrees of separation related to us.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And like especially because it's in the WNBA and most sports leagues, such a large percentage of players are minorities on top of that. So we really need to advocate for them to get some good pay.
Right. They are the foundation of the league. And what began the league to attract people to pay attention to the league was their talent, their hard work, their dedication. So, much respect to the WNBA. My prayers to everyone who's suffered during this time, and still, the tornadoes, I don't know if it's over yet, you know what I mean? But my prayers to everyone that has suffered and, didn't have that home, insurance on their home, or their car insurance, you know what I mean? Because trees was tearing up cars and houses
Hmm.
and everything, you know what I mean? So it got pretty bad. I've seen it, because I do door dashing and just, going through the Flossmoor area in Illinois, oh my goodness, Homewood, Indiana, they got hit hard, you know what I mean? It's just incredible, So my prayers to everyone, across the land.
For
So
sure.
but back to you, the woman of the year. Back to you, Miss Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence. Such a powerful name. I love your name.
Thank
So
you.
I was looking through your pictures, and why I come across you with one of my friends that you probably didn't even know was one of my friends. And this woman played a very intricate role with me when it came to when I began my Tribute to Women event tour, which, by the way, shameless plug, the next one will be May 22nd at the Grand Ballroom in Chicago. That's 63rd and Cottage, 6351 South Cottage Grove. So make sure you all come out. Caitlin's going to be there. Hopefully, she's going to be one of our VIP guests. You already know. Hopefully
I
she'll
will mark my
participate
calendar.
Yes, but this woman right here, she actually sponsored my crowns in the beginning. And I'm going back to 2017, Tribute to Women, when I began this. Such a good friend of mine.
Oh yes, Starist White. She was my sister queen.
Yeah.
So we served in pageants at the same time.
Wow, look at that. Yep,
Yeah,
I'm known with Starkist,
she was very
Yes, please.
dedicated.
Yeah, such a big heart. She does so much. She has a pantry where she does, and gives to the homeless. And, My Promise to Give is the name of her company. So shout out to Starkist, White. I love her. Such a dear soul.
Yes, a very sweetheart.
Yeah, she's gentle, very gentle. Yep. So with that being said as well, I want you to talk a little bit about this company that you so heavily are partners with.
So I'm so glad you asked me about that. So I am on the board of directors and I'm the state development chair for NAMI, Illinois, NAMI meaning the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And they are the largest grassroots mental health organization in the country. They offer a plethora of free peer counseling services over the phone, virtual, in-person, support groups, direct one-on-one work, as well as community education and advocacy. They do it all. And I am so blessed to be a part of NAMI, Illinois. And for me, a lot of people or they probably do know at this point because I talk about it so much, but when it comes to NAMI, it's personal to me because as somebody who's been in and out of therapy over half my life, my first suicide attempt was my 14th birthday. I've been in and out of therapy on and off meds for, a great portion of my life. And it still was not enough at a certain point. The alcohol and drug counseling, the psychotherapy, all of those things. But once I found the support groups with NAMI, it was a game changer for my mental health. That was the added layer that I needed on top of my one-to-one private therapy, on top of self-care, on top of intentional lifestyle changes. I needed those free support groups to not feel suicidal anymore. And since I've been going to those groups, I have not been suicidal in years. And it's just such a life-changing organization. I recommend anybody get involved.
Awesome. God bless NAMI and their organization, and just being there for people like yourself who have suffered, and you being a survivor of suicide. That's very important because I know a lot of people that didn't make it. Going back to even children. So I don't know if there's something you'd like to talk about today. And what led to you feeling like you wanted to take your life at 14 years old, and then what was, again, with the help of NAMI and maybe other sources, what helped you to overcome that?
Yes. So I am a pretty open book. So I definitely don't mind talking about it because I've had multiple attempts, but that first one was tied to one, I had undiagnosed major depressive disorder. So I wasn't being properly treated for something I should have been being treated for, but I hadn't it wasn't noticed before by my primary care providers or even in myself because I was a kid. So that wasn't being properly addressed. And then layering in a few other not so great factors that were happening. And then on top of that, I was gang assaulted by a group of young men that I did not know, but they were locals, but I did not know them personally on my way home from school. And I felt like I couldn't tell anybody about it because of just the dynamics of my family and how strict and conservative my father was, and a lot of his views and how he parented were very patriarchal and misogynistic, which he's improved, you know, leaps and bounds now. But like at that time, he wasn't really somebody you could easily talk to. So because of those factors, I've kept it inside and I ruminated on it. And I even like told a few of my friends like that I was suicidal and that I was planning on like just ending it all. I didn't get into details about why, but I did tell a few of like my friends this. And I guess because because again, we were all kids. They're like 13, 14 years old. So they, out of respect for me, were like, okay, well, we're not going to tell on her because she's our friend, when really they probably should have told on me so that somebody could intervene. So that's what happened that first time. But then, you know, fast forward well into my adulthood, when I had my second bout, it was a combination of things. I had been ousted from the high control religious group and faith-based community that I had been a part of for over a decade and had invested tens of thousands of hours of my youth into, over a bunch of drama that was just crazy, largely misconstrued and very unjust and unfair given the dedication I gave that organization. That then led to even further drama within my family and broke up some of the relationships I had with relatives I had been pretty close to. Then lost several long-term friendships there. Then layering in like intimate partner violence and a lot of like romantic trauma and issues that I had there. And then, like I say, that history of assault, and that compounded and led me down a path of alcoholism. So like all of those things married together and eventually led me to a point in my adulthood where I was ready to just be done with this again. But thankfully, you know, neither time I was successful. And once I came to, after, you know, the incident in my adulthood, once I came to and got stable and started going to the NAMI groups, it really just made so much of a difference. I can't even put it into words, because the difference of having that community of people who specifically understand what it's like to live life with the chronic mental health condition, major depressive disorder. There is no cure. It doesn't go away. It's forever. It's a biological imbalance in the brain, neurobiological. So for me, like knowing that that's just something I have to live my whole life with, and being in a group with other people who understand that, and, you know, not only do they understand and they offer you that space to heal and commune with no judgment, they also are not in your day-to-day life. Because while I had friends and relatives who also had chronic mental illness, like, you can't talk to them about certain things because some of the stuff involves them or involves somebody that you think they might tell. So having those hobby groups where, you know, they're not in your day-to-day life. They're not going to call up your mama or call up your daddy or call up your boyfriend or call up, they're not going to call them and tell them what you talked about. That really
confidential. Right. Strictly confidential. Right. Excuse me.
Yes. The confidentiality, it made all the difference.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to stop you. I just, you know, was throwing that word out there of what you were speaking about, confidential. But no,
No worries.
but yeah, no, and I want to tell you right now, like, it's not your fault, because what you went through, that was residual pain, residual depression, like, because it wasn't properly addressed, of what you had suffered from it, something that you may have been born with, you know, and it was created. It could have been habitual, you know what I'm saying? It's not your fault, Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence, you know what I mean, Calynn, because, you know, it just, you know, it grew into, you know, and I'm glad that it didn't become a wildfire to the point to where it took your life. And I want to say how proud I am of you, of the strength that required, that nobody else but God knows the strength that it required for you to be at this point in your life. And, you know, and the reward of, you know, now you're celebrated, you're highlighted, you're on the front cover of magazines, you know, you receiving crowns, deserved crowns too, you know what I mean? You know, working with Dr. Crystal Chachange, I can't get that woman's name. Well, what's her name? Dr. Crystal. I'll just leave it at Dr. Crystal. I can't say her last name. It's all love. But yeah, just again, you know, back to you. Like, it's all about you, Queen. And you are such a queen, such a force to be reckoned with. And you are a true survivor for real, for real. And I just salute you to, you know, everything that it took that people don't know. Like I started this interview, they see the highlights, but they don't know the pain, the sweat, the tears, the depression, all of it. They don't know. They do not know what it took to be here. And again, congratulations to you. I love you. I love you for that. You know what I mean? For just your strength and your resilience. So just keep going, and so many more great things are to come for you. But you know, just stay with it and keep showing up, because that's my whole thing is I show up. You know, if you don't show up to the party, show up to the event, show up to the interview, show up to the job, to life, you're gonna miss out. You know what I'm saying? You got to show up and stay ready. And so that's what you've been doing. You're very diligent with that. You're proven. The evidence is there. Look at her resume. So again, thank you for sharing that. You know what I mean? I can't imagine how hard and difficult that is, but I'm glad that you got to the point where you can share your truth. And I'm grateful for NAMI and other organizations, like I say, that are very intricate in helping other people who suffer from suicide, because suicide prevention is so important. You know, and especially during COVID, it increased. It
Yes.
maximized. COVID maximized it. You know what I mean? And it's actually something that I suffer from. I don't speak about suicidal thoughts. I never attempted, but I definitely considered it. You know what I mean? Doing because I survived a semi truck 18 wheeler car accident. I was
Oh no.
driving to Chicago one day, and I got hit by a semi truck back in January 2022. Just
Oh
strictly
no.
unexpected. You know what I mean? I hit black eyes, car lost control. I looked to my right and I seen a 70 mile per hour. The truck that I had passed, it was going 70 miles per hour because that's the speed limit. So that's why I could tell the per. And he never braked. I never heard the brake. It was no evidence that they braked. He was keep going. So he tried to drive through me. Um, and so just surviving that, you know what I mean? It was some kids that actually lost their life. 4 teenagers lost their life the same day, and they got hit by a semi truck, but they died and I survived, and I'm already in my 40s. So it was about that I had to go through faith, asking God and trying to question God, like, why me? Why wouldn't you keep the young people alive? Why did you keep me alive? Like, I'm already they lived a good life, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I would love to continue to live, you know what I mean? And there's so many things that I still felt like I have a purpose to do, and things that I desire to do. But, you know, it's like, man, I've already been here at that time, 42 years. So it's like, man, why would you take teenagers that haven't even had the experience, the opportunity? But, you know, God has his reasons that we will never know the answer to everything, and we shouldn't actually even seek the answer to everything. It's not for like some of God's business ain't our business, you know, straight like that. Like it just ain't our business. Like we need to mind our own business when it comes to God's business, straight like that. You know what I mean? Because you know, and keep doing what we're doing because God knows best, and God kept you here for a reason. To where those attempts was not successful, God kept me here for a reason. To where, despite you know, I had these bouts and questioning, you know, wow, I don't know what's going on with the Jets today, but I don't know what they own out here. But yeah, you hear the freaking Jets going past like crazy.
And
I'm downtown Chicago.
you surviving that, I didn't know you had been through that. That is crazy, and I am so glad that you made it as well. Thank you for all the comforting words you had to say about me, but I'm glad you made it as well. And I think that you're really on to something. Like sometimes things will work out in a way due to that divine intervention, and it doesn't always make sense. But even if it don't make sense, just be happy it did. Just be happy you're here,
Right.
you know, and you going through a lot of that stuff. And you hit the nail on the head with COVID. Like COVID, oh my God, like that was such a rough time for me and a lot of people with chronic mental health conditions. Like you're right, the
Right.
suicide rates did skyrocket and all of that, especially for people who like were isolated by themselves. Like, yeah, it's a lot. So like I'm glad that both of us are still here.
Amen. Amen to that. um, and so you know, you do so many extraordinary things, like I say, And I love the fact that you work with the kids too. I'll pause it for 1 second. Sorry, it was another jet going overhead. They're really, really loud. I was able to catch it this time. But I love the fact that you work with the children. Hold on. Here comes another.
Must be some kind of air show going on today.
I don't know if it's an air show or just what they own, but something's going on. It's definitely a positive air show, and I pray that they're safe with that air show because things can go wrong with air shows. But I love that you work with children. You know what I mean? And I want to highlight this real quick if you can speak about it a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you. So I love the kids, even though I don't have any of my own yet. I would like to have one eventually or adopt a couple. I guess it'll just depend on what it looked like for me in the future. But this is so one of the micro grants from my donor advised fund that I call the Dr. Calynn Lawrence Philanthropy Fund, which is part of my Fresh Faces Project initiative. We saw the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago doing a campaign where they were just asking for a few dollars per child to fund a few or a full day of programming and meals per child. And they were doing this campaign. I think I saw it on the news or something. And I said, oh yeah, that's great. And it's local to Chicago. Cause I was that little Black girl from a low income neighborhood who didn't get to participate in a lot of extracurriculars and stuff like that because my parents ain't had the money for it. So, I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and give. So I sat on it until I could budget my money, which I do with all of my strategic giving. And once I got my next check, I set aside some money and I said, okay, this is going to go to the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago. And I sent the money and then I put the little flyer together and put it on social because people ask me too, like, why do you put those flyers out after you donate? Which I only do those for larger donations. I don't do those for like, $20 here, $50 there, especially if it's like a personal fundraiser, like somebody's GoFundMe, not like a nonprofit or a charity. But when it comes to me putting those flyers together, I do that so that other people can know about the cause because they'll see it and be like, oh, to this, what's this nonprofit? And they'll learn about it. And, a lot of the time people will donate too. So that's how that came about.
I love it. You know what I mean? I'm glad that, you're playing a role, and I love your responsibility of, just with, again, attached to your giving heart to be able to set money aside and say, this is what I'm going to do. And you stand on that and you just keep your word, you know what I mean? Because that's so important, you know what I mean? Hence, another reason why I call myself I Said It, because it's about keeping your word, it's about accountability, and it's about manifestation. That's what the I Said is. That's what's behind the word I Said It. For those that didn't know, now y'all got to learn on the Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence interview. But with that being said, yes, keep doing what you're doing. So awesome, so incredible you are. And I also wanted to share this picture from, I think, with the exception of the last party at Sabia's husband's party with Blue um party, I had the chance to see you. But you played a great role, and you spoke at Dr. Dominique's autism awareness event. And so this is a picture that we all took. Such a beautiful, and this picture came out bomb right here.
I love that photo. I love that photo. It's us. It's I think Chrissy was there. It's Cindy, Tria, Guthrie and his I don't know if this is his wife or his girlfriend. Like that was such a great event that day. And honestly, even though me speaking was like a last minute like thing, like I really enjoyed the cause because autism awareness, which is what the point of that event was, that is such a good thing, because so many kids, especially Black and brown kids, they don't get the support services they need for that. So I was happy to support that event.
No, absolutely. And just the fact that it was autism awareness, we were celebrating the new cover for Benjamin Scott, not pictured because he wasn't there. He was actually at another autism awareness event that day. But shout out to Benjamin Scott, such an awesome young man. And he's one of the advocates and for autism awareness globally. So, much respect to him. But yes,
I
thank
love
you
the
so
work
much.
Benjamin does. He's a great friend.
Yeah. Yeah, as I was looking at your social media, I saw that y'all been connected for a second now.
I've known Benjamin probably like a decade at this point.
Yeah, that's what it looked like too. That's definitely what it looked like. So, if I may ask, what year was it that you received your first award for the things that you do, being recognized for what you do?
Professionally, my first ever award was a Chicago Oscar or a RCCI Academy Award, and
Mm,
that was in February of 2017.
mm,
And I think
wow.
that's where I met Benjamin, actually. I think that's where I met him in the flesh. We were friends on Facebook already, but that's where I met him in the flesh.
Okay, okay. Well, if you don't mind, I want to share a little clip. I was doing my research, not just be connected with the spirit. I just tap into the spirit, and you have so many videos and coverage and footage, but I was like, this right here is something I want to share on the show. Check this out, you all. This is Calynn accepting an award.
Guys, so much for the award. You have no idea how much this means to me. And I just want to say, in the words of Oprah, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So me being able to win this award on behalf of my nonprofit campaign, the Fresh Faces Project, I stand here for all of the artists and entrepreneurs who I have helped and will help in the future. Thank you, Mom, and thank you, everybody.
So was that the award?
Yes.
Wow, look at God. Look
That's
at God.
so
Congratulations.
found that.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Great speech. I love the speech, short and sweet. You know what I mean? And it's about, hey, I'm being recognized, you know what I mean? We have to continue to recognize people. And if it wasn't for people who have hearts like us to recognize others, others want to have hearts to recognize each other. And I'm grateful for the awards that I've received and that I have coming up. And and all the awards and achievements, accolades that you have received from the front covers. And I'm grateful to say in my upcoming magazine, I'm grateful to it's shame on me, I didn't even load it the cover of my magazine. But with that being said, I have a magazine that's going to be released October the 27th. It's going to be distributed in Michigan and Las Vegas at this moment. But I'm looking for more cities and states to add. But I'm grateful to make sure I have an article about you, a full page article, because you're such an awesome young lady. And I'm just so proud of you and everything that you're doing. So it will be published, and it's called I Said It. That's the name of the magazine, straight like that. Just I Said It. I Said It mag is what it's going to be, and it's going to be edition 1. So I'm grateful that you'll be featured in there, and I'm just grateful for your time today, this interview, everything that you do. And this is the last question I like to ask is that well, not even a question. I like to suggest that you give a little girl. There's a little girl out there that was a mirror of you, a mirror to where before you became or who you were. What would you say to that little girl that's in the world right now to help her to leap and bound over that hurdle in her life and how to get over that, you know what I mean? And maybe she don't have a NAMI, in her community. Maybe she don't have an organization that can help. Maybe she doesn't even know how to reach out to someone. What would you tell her? What advice can you give her or what she can do to just, help her? That make any sense?
I would say if that little girl is out there and she is looking for somewhere to start, somewhere to get her resources together so she can get on a path to live her best life, please reach out to us, the holistichealingsource.org. We would be more than happy if it's some young people out there or any age and they don't know where to go or where to turn. Please reach out to us. We have a free online directory of a plethora of different resources, national and international. We have a lot of connections with a lot of different nonprofits and social services agencies. So if you don't know where to go and you need some help, please reach out to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that, and I want to share this right here.
Oh, thank you so much. That is my for those of you watching, that is my contributing columnist announcement for Health and Wellbeing magazine. I am now a mental health and mindfulness contributor to their magazine. They are a pretty large UK-based magazine that focuses on those topics, and I'm super excited to, share some insights with you guys there.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for everything that you do. Um, you are just 10 toes down and just helping people. And I love that. And you can't be celebrated or thanked enough, for the things that you do, because it's so many years you have ahead of you, but just the years of your dedication that you've been doing, is to be again appreciated, saluted. And I want you to know that I do not take your time, your efforts, your love for the community, your caring heart, because I believe, and this is another discussion, love and caring to me is two different things. But your
Yes.
caring and loving heart, you have both. You possess both. Some people just have a loving heart, some people have a caring heart, but some have love and caring. Like, you just full spectrum, of what love is for the people, for the person. I can see that, what I mean. Real recognize real. Much respect to you, Queen. Salute. And just thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you and everything you do. I'm so happy that we met. This has been a phenomenal experience. And also, thank you for offering to publish that article about me in your magazine. I am just so happy to see where, our friendship leads us in the future, because I know that with us having so much in common, we're going to collab many times in the future.
Yes, I look forward to it, and you are always welcome. Anything that I'm doing, whether shame on me if I don't invite you, but if you see something I'm doing and you be interested, please don't be shy and just ask, because I'm letting you know now you are welcome. But I will always try to stay mindful to invite and ask you to see if it's something that you would like to be a part of.
I would love to. And you said your event is May 22nd, so I can mark that calendar.
Yep, absolutely. That's my next event on my calendar is May 22nd at the Grand Ballroom in Chicago. And so it's going to be awesome. Then that'll be my 8th annual Tribute to Women event tour. And I have a new set of Black extraordinary women and minority women that will be crowned, awarded, and honored that day. So I'm grateful. Along with our second set of mother and daughter. Actually, Dr. Crystal and Cleopatra was the first set this year. And then now our second set would be, well, I'll let y'all know when it's time.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yes, thank you so much. But thank you so much for your time today, Queen. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. You're just a beautiful soul, beautiful spirit, and I'm so grateful to know you. And keep in touch and call me anytime.
Same to you. You have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will be in touch. Bye.
Absolutely. Much love. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
Definitely. Thank you for everyone that was able to tune in today. Make sure you all share this video when you see this video. Again, salute to the 30-time award-winning Dr. Calynn M. Lawrence. Salute to that woman. Black woman, Black queen. She is. Much respect. And thank y'all to coming to the I Said It Management Podcast. And my name is Dr. I Said It. Peace and blessings. One love. I'm praying for Chicago.